Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe and Chill Mr. Bear, and today I'm going to show you a general upper body isometric routine. And this is the third video in my 10-day whole body wellness challenge. Want to find out more about it? Stick around to the end and I'll talk about it a little bit more. So let's get started.
Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert.
So for the upper body isometrics, you don't need any equipment, but for some of the standing exercises, if you want to stand next to a wall, be close to a wall, but you don't need the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our warm-up. And so this is just going to be a 2-minute warm-up. So I'm going to start with some shoulder circles. So with the isometric exercises, these are the ones where you're activating the muscles, but you're not moving. And so this is a great kind of mid-routine through your whole program, just to kind of relax the muscles down a little bit, but you're still working them. You can rotate your shoulders back the other way too for the warm-up. So with the isometric exercises, again, you're activating those muscles, but you're not making the big movements that might hurt if you have some injuries or some achy muscles and some tight muscles. So it's a really great way to get things moving. Then you can also just do some arm circles to get everything nice and warmed up. You can do some going forwards, you can do them going backwards, you can make big circles, you can make little circles. Again, this is just to get these muscles warmed up. And once we start going into the routine, we're going to do them in 30-second increments. And so we're not going to do it for repetitions, we're just going to do it for time. So you do as many as you can in that time. You don't have to do as many as me. You can go slow at your own pace. So that's why I like time better. And then you can also do some shoulder squeezes for your warm-up. But then after each individual stretcher exercise, we're going to have a short break, and then between the group of exercises, we'll have a long break. So just to let you know kind of how it's working out as we go along. So after you do some of those shoulder squeezes, then just finish up with just a little bit of trunk rotation or upper body rotation, because again, this is upper body in general isometrics. A lot of it will be for neck and shoulder, but we'll do one for the upper back at the end. So we want to get it nice and loosened up as well. So again, with isometrics, we're just going to start off. If you've been following the wellness challenge, you've already done some, so you can start progressing the percentage of push. We've been doing 30 to 40%, but if you're at this point and you've been doing them up along, let's try maybe 40 to 50% of how much you feel like you can push. So the first one is just going to be a neck flexion isometric, which is the motion's going to be this, but we're stopping ourselves from moving. So I'm just pushing into my hand this way, a 3 to 5 second hold. This is the motion I'm doing, but I'm not going anywhere. Again, maybe that 40 to 50% push. If you want to, you can make a fist under your chin and push down this way. 3 to 5 second hold. But if you have some TMJ issues or some jaw problems, this might be a little bit uncomfortable. You can also use the palm of your hand. And so I'm just pushing down. Again, you don't have to start off with that 40 to 50% if you've been working your way up, but definitely don't go into a full amount in the beginning. So again, this is the motion we're doing. Sometimes using the palm of your hand is a little more comfortable. Try and get your head pretty straight forward when you're pushing in. I'm turned just a little bit because I'm looking at you, but going down, again, this is the motion, but I'm not going anywhere. And that 3 to 5 second hold, you can do that way, or again, with your fingers pushing in, going downwards. So the next one is going to be a side bend, neck side bend isometric. So the motion is this way, but again, you're stopping yourself with your hand from doing that motion. Really trying to keep your head in that upright position and just bending over, not turning it one way or the other while you're doing it. So again, just fingers if you want at your temple area here and just pushing in. I'm doing about 40 to 50% of what I think I can, maybe about a 5 second hold, and then relaxing. You should see some of these muscles activate when I'm doing that. That's what you should feel as well. You know, if you've got some weakness in there, you might not be able to get them to activate by seeing them, but you definitely should be able to feel them kind of moving in there. again, these shouldn't be painful. Isometric exercises should not be painful. That's kind of why you're doing the isometric, so you're not getting those movements that sometimes might cause pain. So if you feel like it's causing pain, either let up a little bit, even like a 10 to 20% pushing in, or just hold off on those and make sure and talk to your doctor or physical therapist before continuing. And so if you've been through these before and you feel like I'm talking a lot while I'm explaining, put it on mute and play your own music as you go along. You know, I'm just trying to give you as much information as I can as I go to explain it or modify it and do it in different ways. So again, just kind of pushing in, doing that motion. Breathing is also great through these exercises. Diaphragmatic breathing can really help relax the muscles. So whichever one is best for you, you know, get some nice deep breathing in there, and sometimes that will help relax those muscles as well. And again, if you want to use your palm instead of your fingers, sometimes that's a little bit softer area to push into, so it might not be quite as uncomfortable. And maybe if you have some arthritis in your fingers, you might not want to push so much into your fingers, so you can just use your palm to push into, get that nice active motion, or not motion, but activating the muscle in there. And then last one on the other side for this one. And then just, again, pushing in, getting some of those muscles activating over there. And if sometimes with isometric exercises, you might feel or hear a little popping sound in your neck or your shoulder, wherever you're doing the isometric exercise. And as long as it's not painful, that's okay. Some people talk about popping being the fluid moving in the joint. Some people think it's an adjustment. It can actually be both depending on what's going on. But as long as it's not painful, it's not that big of a deal. So now we're going to do some standing up ones for the shoulder. So with the shoulder, this is the one that if you're standing next to a wall, you can push into the wall. But if you're not close by a wall, or maybe you have a lot of stuff around your wall, you can just use your other hand. So the first one we're going to do is a shoulder flexion motion. And I'm just going to put my other hand here and I'm pushing in. So again, the motion that I'm doing is this, but I'm stopping myself from going up. So I'm just kind of pushing and then relaxing. You can kind of see the muscles up here, that anterior delt, activating and then relaxing there. With this one, if you don't have any specific injuries, you can actually change the angle for each one, not actively moving, but changing your position and then going again. So you can start, I'll show you with this one, a little bit lower, and the next one be higher, and then the next one be higher. So for example, I'm going to do a 3-second hold here and then relax. Then I'm going to move it up a little bit. 3-second hold here, relax, and then move it up a little bit again. And then that 3-second hold there. So by changing the position, again, you're using slightly different muscles depending on what angle you get, but you're still doing that isometric exercise. When you're activating the muscle, it's not actually moving. And so that's a nice way to kind of get a variety of things while you're doing it. So that one's nice. And again, if you feel like you have any pain, especially if you're hurting up here, bring it back all the way to the side and then just do the activations right there. So that 3-second hold. But if you can move a little bit more as you go, maybe if you have something like frozen shoulder, sometimes this is nice because maybe you can only get to about here. So work your way up into that position. Again, then stopping and holding. And then once you relax, bring it up a little bit again and then hold there. And then hopefully each time as you're working through that range, you can start getting a little bit higher and higher. But even something like with a shoulder impingement or a rotator cuff issue, these are nice because they're usually not quite as painful as something like a full active motion. That would kind of be the second part of the phase of the routine that you're getting into. And then moving it up a little bit and holding here. But again, when you're starting off, if you want to do them all right here, that's fine. Don't feel like you have to move the positions if you don't want to, but that's something that you can definitely progress into as you go. So just again, pushing in and relaxing. So then the next one is just going to be shoulder abduction. So that motion is the motion going out, away from your body. So a lot of times I'll have people turn their thumbs out when they're actively doing something, because that just opens up the shoulder. But when you're doing it isometrically, if you want to keep your thumb forward, that's okay. So now this is the motion I'm doing. Again, my other hand is just stopping it from going. But if you want to stand next to a wall, you can push in, and then you can step away from the wall to get it a little bit higher and then push in. So that's how you can do that as well. Or again, you can just use your hand as long as you're comfortable enough reaching over and not turning your whole body. So see, I'm not turning my whole body and doing it this way. I'm just kind of reaching across. So again, that wall might be a good help if you have a little bit of trouble bringing your other arm across the body. And then same thing on the other side. And the reason I like to do them separately, one, because you're using your other hand to do it, but sometimes maybe one side might be a little stronger or one side might be a little weaker than the other. So when you do them independently, instead of maybe getting in a hallway and trying to push both hands into the wall if they're close together, sometimes it's hard because you're kind of pushing harder with one or the other. So if you have that extra time, doing them separately, I feel actually makes it a little bit better, because then you can do the different, like if I'm pushing much harder with my left hand versus my right hand, you can really focus on that one specific side at a time. So kind of up to you. If you're pressed for time and you have somewhere where you can get both hands pushing into something, that's fine. You can do that as well. So again, just pushing 3 to 5 seconds, maybe that 40 to 50%. Stop, push again. If I'm getting much higher, again, I can actually feel when my thumb is forward, that little bit of impinging on my shoulder. So I would then, if I'm going much higher than about here, I would probably turn my thumb out just a little bit and then push in and go. And you don't have to have your thumb out. You can do this if you're doing it against the wall. But the reason the thumb this way, that opens up that shoulder space, so it usually makes it less painful. It's not impinging on that area as much or pressing into that space that is sometimes painful for people, especially if you already have a little bit of an injury going on. But this one is really big, working that outer delt muscle there, so that you can feel that one working very nicely in there. And then starting back over if you want. And if you're close to your body, bringing that thumb forward is fine. So then the next one, as you can imagine, we're just going to kind of go all the way around. So now we're going to do adduction, bringing in towards our body. So you can just use the side of your body to push in if you want to, or you can have it slightly out a little bit and use your hand again, depending on where you're pulling in. I like using my other hand because it's easier to change the angles a little bit. So now I'm coming inwards this way towards my body, holding that 3 to 5 seconds. If you want to come a little bit across the body, you can. That might be a little bit uncomfortable, depending on if you're just doing this for general wellness, or maybe if you've got some issues with your shoulder, or some arthritis or some tendonitis, kind of thing like that. So if you just want to stop at what we would call that midline, you can. And then the same thing on this side. So sometimes if you don't want to use your hand, but you want the different angles, if you have a chair that's nice and sturdy, you can push into a chair as well, and then just kind of push in. If I was behind the couch, I could push in behind the couch as well to get that motion pushing in. So again, that 3 to 5 seconds. If you're just doing some of these for the first time, maybe even 1 to 2 seconds, but make sure you're not just pushing and stopping and pushing and stopping. Really engage those muscles, make those muscles contract and hold for a little bit, because that's what's going to get them stronger, getting that nice push in there. And then again, while you're doing some of this, sometimes just that nice diaphragmatic breathing really kind of helps relax those muscles. And then you can even, again, like I said, just kind of push into your side. You might have heard my shoulder pop with that one. That pop wasn't painful. It was just everything kind of adjusting around in there. So if you don't want that movement, you can just push into the side. And then same thing on this side. If I just wanted to push into my hip for a couple of those, I could do that with that nice deep breathing in there. You can see my shoulder is shaking a little bit depending on how hard you're pushing. That shaking sometimes is just the muscles working. You know, if they need a little bit of extra work, sometimes they're going to shake a little bit more or feel really tired or heavy. That's usually just a sign of some weakness. So as you can imagine, the last one for that series, not all of them, but in the going all the way around, is going to be extension now. So same kind of thing. You can use your hand starting up high and going down a little bit lower if you want to, or if you're really flexible, kind of getting back behind you. But this is where a wall comes in handy. So I'm pushing down into extension, maybe even starting right here, getting here. If you're really flexible, you can go back behind you like that. Just make sure that your shoulders are comfortable in this position. But that's what, you know, I'm pushing back in that motion and just stopping my arm from going all the way back. But if you, again, just want to start off right here or use that wall to push into the wall, you can do that as well. And then again, even if you wanted to start a little bit higher, pushing down and then relaxing. And then coming around behind you and pushing. And again, if you don't have any shoulder issues, if you're just doing this for general wellness, that should be fairly easy to do. You can also use a strap or a belt and hold it there and push into it if you wanted to have extra equipment. I try and use equipment as little as possible so you don't have to get a whole bunch of stuff, but if you had maybe even a dog leash, a belt, or a stretch strap that has a nice loop, you could put it on your wrist, and then so you can hold it here, and then you're pushing back into the belt, which would allow you to get back a little bit further without using that other hand. So that's an option as well, just to give you some options for some other things pushing inwards that way. So for these, we're just going to breathe through them. Still doing just little movements at a time and then pushing in. So the next one is going to be actually sitting back down, doing an upper body kind of rotation. So you want a back. And now this is the motion that I'm doing, but now I'm just pushing into the chair. So I'm rotating into the back of the chair or the couch or something. So again, I'm not really moving a whole lot. I'm turning a little bit just so you can get the idea of the turn, but ideally you're just sitting back, maybe even pushing your elbow into it so you're getting that rotation motion. So I'm just rotating this way and then relaxing a little bit. You can put your hands anywhere. I just have them up so you can kind of see if you wanted to guide with your elbows that you can, but you can just have them relaxed. You can have them crossed. You can have them up back here, whatever is most comfortable for you. But sometimes I find if you put your elbows in the back, you can get a little bit better push into that rotation. So again, I'm doing this motion. I'm rotating my upper body into the back of the couch, the chair, whatever you're sitting on. Or again, you can do this standing, rotating against the wall. So then you're pushing your back into the wall, into that rotation. So again, I'm showing you that little bit of rotation, but ideally I'm just pushing in, not making a huge movement, because if this is uncomfortable, you want to be able to activate those muscles without going into that pain motion, because you want it to be pain-free, but then you're still strengthening those muscles and working those muscles. But again, I can just kind of push in, and what I'm doing is almost my shoulder blade. I'm leading with my shoulder blade to push into the backing of the couch, where I'm just getting that, hard stop, but activating those muscles back there. And I'm getting some of those rotators in the upper mid back, and then also in the shoulder area as well, which is really nice to kind of get that combination of both. And it might feel weird and feel uncomfortable, so this one sometimes is a little bit nicer to do standing with your back against the wall. If you've got a spot to do that, that makes it pretty easy. But if you're tired and you've been doing a lot, then maybe you do want to sit. But again, a nice firm chair with a back, and it doesn't even have to be a tall back. It just has to be enough where you can kind of push that upper back into it, like you're rotating, but not really getting that big motion in there. And then again, only pushing to comfort, not pushing into any pain. So there you have it. That was my general upper body isometric routine. And so remember, that was the day 3 in my 10-day whole body wellness challenge. If you want to find out more about that, click on the description below. And if you want to check out all the other ones, click on the playlist up there. And remember, be safe, have fun, and I hope you feel better soon.